This program is brought to you in association with First National Bank of Botswana. Welcome to First Issues. Previously on the program, we spoke to financial planner at Assure Wealth Kgotla on budgeting as a financial management tool that can be used to help those struggling to manage their finances. This arising from recognizing that sometimes people find themselves in financial duress not because they're reckless, but because they simply lack the skill to properly apportion their earnings towards their commitments. Tonight, however, we speak on the self-imposed pressures that lead to financial stress and ultimately serious health concerns. Whether lounging on a beach of white sand and bright blue waters, fancy flower bouquets, or being seen indulging in intricate and exotic meals, a growing number of young adults, especially in their 20s and 30s, are enjoying a carefree life of adventure and luxury, or so it seems. The pressure to keep up with the Joneses has soared to new heights, while in reality millennials are struggling to keep up with their debt, leading to a rise in such conditions as juvenile high blood pressure, anxiety disorders, depression, and in some cases, suicide. In trying to come to some sort of understanding around this phenomenon, we engaged psychotherapist Letsha for this discussion. Letsha, thank you so much for coming on First Issues and affording us your time. We're talking today about the health concerns that might arise from people finding themselves under financial duress for whatever reason. So let us speak firstly about why people might find themselves under so much pressure to live a life of luxury and being so carefree with their finances.
I think a large contributor to that kind of lifestyle or influencing that kind of lifestyle is what we see every day. I think firstly, the idea of success that's being modeled to us in our context is very heavy on the material stuff. Money, cars, clothes, travel, and all these things that are luxurious but come with a very big price tag. That's exactly where our focus is, and our idea of what it means to be wealthy is about. So of course that will create people having a desire for things like that and the lifestyle associated with it, and couple that with people showing it so openly, because it could have been going on 20, 30 years ago, but now it's much more in our faces than it has ever been. So there's lots of pressure, there's lots of peer pressure even when it comes to material measures of success.
I like how you brought up that, what the idea of success is and it being so much in our faces through various forms of media. And it brings me to my next question, and that's, while the responsibility of an individual not being or feeling pressured to live up to those standards lies with them, to what extent do you think media plays in perpetuating these stereotypes?
It's entirely the media. I don't think there's an extent. It's entirely the media that's pushing this message of what success should be, because if it wasn't so prevalent, then it would be a household issue. But that's not what it is anymore. You see that people no longer model who they want to be from what they receive at home, advice they receive at home, but rather what they see on social media. This also goes hand in hand with the idea of being a global citizen. So you must be, at the time, you must be trendy, right? So all of that is entirely about media. Before we had magazines, but they weren't so pressurizing because there was an accessibility issue with that, magazines, TV, radio. But now every single person, typically from the age 10, even 9, or even younger than that, has a cell phone or some kind of smart device where they can access the internet from. And there's social media. So they are completely and constantly in touch with that world that pushes that message entirely. I'm not saying that there's not some positive information out there on media, even on social media specifically. There are some positive messages. You find people spreading knowledge of other factors, other aspects of success. You do see that information shared, but it's not as prevalent as how we are pushing this flaunting culture. And also, human beings have somewhat inclination, it's a bias that we have as a species to be more attracted to what's dramatic than, the cool, calm, meaningful stuff. So even though we have access and we have information there, we're going to be attracted to what we're typically more attracted to.
Are you able to speak on some of the health concerns and health challenges that might arise from, people finding themselves under financial duress or stress?
Let us remember that the human being is made of 4 interconnected components, right? You have your mind, your spirit, your body, and your emotions. Okay, so all of these things work hand in hand with each other. One is constantly affecting the other. So when your emotions are not okay, it affects your mind. That's the concept of mental health. And when your mind is not okay, or even if it's just your emotions, eventually your body starts to show sickness. Your spirit starts to show sickness as well. So that's exactly how it gets to that point. It starts off as an emotional issue, and then it develops itself into something that is, if not physically visible, but something that the person would be feeling. Anxiety, for example, if left unmanaged or unchecked, uncured, it manifests into physical bodily symptoms, stomach cramps, your back pains, your skin breakouts, loss of hair. These are signs that your body is experiencing excessive amounts of stress, and usually what comes from pressure is exactly that stress and anxiety of trying to keep up with something that is nearly impossible to keep up with. So some of the more serious conditions that we can see manifesting from emotional imbalance or mental ill health are conditions such as hypertension. Other NCDs in general are lifestyle related. Just depends what kind of lifestyle that dictates what kind of NCD you might contract. But hypertension and stress are highly related. Why? Because when your body is going under stress, your body produces a hormone called cortisol. Now, cortisol doesn't just activate your body to respond to the stressor, but it also has after effects on the normal functioning of the body. And some such as that it stiffens your veins, right? And what is hypertension about? Exactly that. Your veins not having full capacity to sustain the running of your body like you want it to run. So things like hypertension can result. An extension of anxiety would be depression, right? Anxiety can is the stage where you are consistently having intrusive thoughts about the past, regretting things, or about the future, trying to get things done. But in a an obsessive kind of compulsive pattern, right? Because it's fine to make future plans, it's fine to draw up plans and have something to look forward to. But if these thoughts become compulsive, become out of your control, then it's alarm for that something is not happening naturally. So over time, if it goes unchecked, anxiety will turn into depression. And once somebody is depressed, it becomes, the symptoms that they'll show is that they kind of lose interest in a lot of things. They become very hopeless. Their perspective about life has become that. They've become very hopeless about what the future has to hold. A worst case scenario, of course, is suicide, where people end up taking their own lives because they don't have any hope for the future having anything better.
I don't know if it'd be fair to ask you this question, but what do you think could be or would be the overall impact on the economy if this situation persists?
The economy is complicated because our understanding of how it runs and why it's supposed to run in that manner it varies. Okay, so you find that we are sold the idea of capitalism. Okay, maximize on profits. Cut down cost of production so that we can produce more. But there's other underlying stuff that motivates the vouching for that kind of economy. Essentially, the idea is that human beings should be able to sustain themselves, produce enough food for themselves, clothe themselves, get themselves a decent education and a decent place to live. Anything beyond that is access. But you see that even in this economy that is supposed to be running in that manner, we're seeing something completely different happening. So economy is a very touchy subject, very politically heavy. So it is, it's complicated, but it definitely does have an effect on the individual because the economy dictates where money comes from. Remember, it dictates the market for business, it dictates the market for human resource. So of course a person is going to want to be in touch with what is going on there, and it is important to do so. However, my hope is that people aren't boxed in by what is currently being practiced, that we find it in ourselves to practice freedom in terms of understanding or creating ways of creating wealth, and beyond that, understanding then the broader concept of success.